What up? It's the BLONGshow. I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit about some church factors. So I was sitting up here thinking about how some of these pastors do the right thing, but there's so many of them doing the wrong thing, causing people not to get involved with church or mix up a man with God. A lot of these people, you going to church and you're following these pastors and stuff, or you thinking that the deacons is a step above you and then the pastor is a step above them. No, you're confused. And that's the problem with the churches today. The deacons are supposed to be supporting cast of the pastor, definitely. The deacons are supposed to be there to support the congregation as well. But if you got the appropriate and the proper pastor,
Prepare to go straight.
Let me turn this off. The appropriate and proper pastor.
Please go straight. In a quarter of a mile.
The appropriate and proper pastor is a servant for their congregation. They're not leading the congregation. And that's another reason we lose a lot of men in church. Real men don't follow nobody. They only seek to follow and be with God. And it's a big problem in the churches. And so I want to bring it to light so that people that's in church can speak up to it, and pastors that's trying to be righteous can actually acknowledge what they're doing wrong or what they've been taught wrong. So check it out. I had watched this one pastor, and he used the story of Haggai, and about how the people that was supposed to be God's people was given the opportunity and the resources to rebuild a temple that had been torn down by a person that didn't believe in God at all, but he was going to support them and giving them somewhere to have the house of God, which irritates me in his own way, because what is a house of God? Do you know that people make these things and they say this is the place where you worship God, but guess what? I bet it's extramarital affairs going on in them buildings. I bet it's blasphemy going on in them buildings. I bet it's all kind of sin going on in them buildings, but somebody have the nerve to call it the house of God. Stuff like that is not happening in the house of God. God is so far beyond the little things that we choose to do and see on this planet. And then we get it confused because at the same time, everybody think heaven is somewhere up there in outer space. When you can read the Bible, and in the first book of the Bible, it tells you that the expanse is right here where we are, between the waters of the sky and the waters of the land. They said that's heaven. So why is it so hard for people to understand where heaven is? You just haven't reached your plateau in order to be where heaven is, as far as your spiritual situation. A lot of people think they got butterflies in their stomach when it's their spirit telling them something. You own your body. Your spirit owns your body. But people act like your spirit is something different. But let me get back to these churches and stuff. If you just make these small adjustments, you'll have far more people in church learning and figuring out the whole situation about God and spirituality. Let's start at the top, the pastor. Does the pastor deserve a nice car? Yeah, a brand new car. And if they married, their wife deserve one too. Every 5 years. And then that car gets passed down throughout the congregation to who needs it next. Do the pastor deserve a nice house? Yes, they do. Do it need to be $1 million home? No, but it should be a home that's in the top tier of their congregation. So let me explain that for the people that don't get what I'm saying. If the top 3% of people in your congregation got a house that's a $300,000 house, the pastor should have a $300,000 house. Not 500, not 600, not 150, 300 if that's the house they choose to have. And every 20 years, if he's a pastor that long, or he's supporting the next pastor, he should be able to get another house and pass that house to the next person. The pastor deserves a stipend or an allowance, whichever one you want to call it, where they should be given at least about $100,000 a year for their own spending practices. And that pastor should not have to answer to you how they choose to spend their money. They shouldn't have to answer to you how they choose to live their life. That pastor is not there for you to be following them. That pastor is there to study that Bible and bring those Bible situations to the congregation so that the congregation can use those Bible situations, which, like we already know, the Bible's supposed to be basic instruction before life ends. So the pastor should be bringing everything that's in that Bible to you. And you should be able to understand what they bring. So that takes work. So that pastor should be putting in their work at home so that they can make sure that they can bring all of this information to the congregation year by year, day by day, week by week. Also, the pastor performs all weddings free of charge, all funerals free of charge. If somebody get down and out and they've been the stand-up person in the congregation, they should get helped out with their food. They should get helped out with their rent. Only thing about it is they should have a plan to get out of that hole. And if you don't know how to plan, or you keep falling in that hole, then the church is going to figure out the way for you to get out that hole in that plan, which goes into the next person that should be getting paid for working for the church, which is the treasurer. Because when you have those losses, you need to report them to the treasurer, and the treasurer is going to make sure that the rules are being followed that the church has put in place in order for that church to be successful and for a congregation to be supported. If you got a kid or yourself on drugs and you need to go to the rehab and you don't have the money to go to the rehab, that church should already have a rehab established relationship with some group if they don't have their own rehab. And they should be supporting you going there, or supporting your family member going there. They should be sponsoring them. And then they have to pay for the lights, gas, water, and all that other stuff that come with owning the church. Custodial services, food services. So that treasurer needs to be paid as well. You're going to pay for quality. And your treasurer has to be quality, or you're going to be losing every single day. So make sure you're doing the right stuff. Quit talking about money so much and just put the money out there. The treasurer can also calculate, if you want to get critical to it, the treasurer can calculate how much money you should be giving the church. Do I believe in that 10% situation? No, I do not. Why should I have to give you $10 out of my $100? That's just something somebody made up. And they probably done moved it up to 20%. That doesn't make sense. The treasurer needs to take all of the church's expenses, spread those out, and figure out, according to what the congregation volume is, and tell you who should be paying what and how much. And so either you can pay the general amount, or you can pay, if you're not paying the general amount, then you can pay the according to how much money you make. But if you do that, just know that the treasurer is going to have to know what your taxes are. And then guess what? That's money you can write off in your taxes too. So, because it's the church. And the federal government has already made deals with churches because they're nonprofit organizations and they religious groups. So there's a lot of stuff to think about when you're doing that. Should the choir be paid? No. But if you have somebody that's looking to become a major singer or something like that and the church supports them, then you ought to be supporting them. You should be their main flow. They should be able to perform at your church for your congregation. And if the congregation wants to, they should be able to leave them a tip for the services that they gave that day. See, that's the problem. We tie God up with money. We need to learn how to split that up. We need to learn how to not hold on to the money or not play games with our congregation with the money. That pastor that I watched talk about Haggai and Haggai and helping the congregation rebuild where they was gonna be serving God, and then they just decided to stall and they stopped building their temple. He used that whole sermon, like 30 minutes, to say how they would stop building their temple and they lost the focus of their responsibilities in order to come all the way full circle to say that he wanted his congregation to give them $14 million to redo something that they wanted to do. He set his congregation up so that he could basically prey on them. You know, you shouldn't have to do that. And people shouldn't have to just freely throw their money out there to the church or feel like that's what they need to do. You know, we need to start paying attention to this stuff. We need to start watching this stuff. Just like they say the ushers don't get paid and all this other different stuff. Anybody working should be reimbursed for their services. If nobody's getting paid, then okay, everybody need to be pitching in. When we leave after service, everybody need to be cleaning the building up. Everybody need to be making the food. Everybody need to be serving the food. Everybody need to be participating in everything because you don't want to pay. But ain't nothing free. Ain't nothing free. Even if I don't charge you, it still ain't free because I'm still using my energy. I'm burning my energy. I'm burning my time. You know, subscribe, like, share, do all that stuff. This is the BLONGshow. I'm just giving it to you like it really is. I'm out.